The hand it to me at the end of the hall. Long-time listener, first-time writer, Brosef. I'm a 23-year-old girl just trying to stay on that grind, you know? Between the gym and finishing my psych degree, I'm out here doing the Uber Eats hustle to keep the debt collectors off my back. Usually it's pretty chill, just me, my podcasts, and the smell of fries I can't eat. But last Thursday? Man, something majorly effed up happened, and I'm still checking my rearview mirror every 5 seconds. It was late, maybe 11:30 p.m. I was about to toggle the app off and head home when a ping came through. High pay, short distance, McDonald's order. I thought, dang, one more for the road, and accepted it. The delivery was for a place called the Starlight Apartments. Now, I know this town, and the Starlight is one of those massive, crumbling concrete monoliths on the edge of the perimeter that the city basically forgot about. It's the kind of place where the elevators smell like stale cigarettes and despair. I grab the bag, hop in my car, and head over. The instructions on the app were super specific. Usually, people just want the leave at my door option so they don't have to put on pants, but this one said, hand it to me. Apartment 14B. Do not leave at the door. Elevator is broken. Use the stairs. Already I'm annoyed. 14 flights of stairs? I gotta be on that graph, but my legs were already toasted from squat day. Still, a job's a job. I get to the building and it's even grungier than I remembered. Half the windows are boarded up and the security door was literally hanging off one hinge. I start the climb. By the time I hit the 14th floor, I'm winded and the hallway is dead silent. The carpet is this stained brownish shag that probably hasn't been vacuumed since the 70s, and the flickering fluorescent lights are doing that high-pitched hum that sets your teeth on edge. I find 14B at the very end of a long, narrow hall. I knock. Nothing. I knock again, a bit harder. Uber Eats. I call out. Finally, I hear a voice. It's low, raspy, and sounds like it's coming through a layer of wet gravel. Just come in, the door is open. I'm in the kitchen. Hand it to me here. Brosef, my gut didn't just scream, no, it did a backflip. I've read enough of these stories to know that come inside is the universal code for you're about to be a news segment. I stayed glued to the spot. I can't come in, sir, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Safety policy. I'll leave it right here. No, the voice snapped, sounding much closer to the door now. The app said hand it to me. I paid for that. Call me. Inside. I looked at the frosted glass panel in the middle of the door. A massive shadow moved behind it, way too tall, way too wide. It looked like a person, but the proportions were off. As I started to back away, I heard a faint creak from the door right next to me. Apartment 14A. The door was cracked open just an inch. I saw a pale eye and a shock of white hair. It was a tiny, elderly woman. She wasn't looking at me, she was staring at the door of 14B with absolute terror. She caught my eye and frantically started shaking her head. No. Her hand came up, trembling, and she pointed toward the stairs. Then she mouthed 3 words that made the hair on my arms stand up. Nobody lives there. I didn't ask questions. I didn't wait for the shadow to turn the handle. I dropped that McDonald's bag like it was made of lead and bolted. I didn't even use the stairs normally, I practically fell down them 2 or 3 at a time. I heard the door to 14B swing open behind me with a heavy thud, and then the sound of something, not footsteps but a wet, dragging sound, following me into the stairwell. I made it to my car in record time, peeled out of that gravel lot, and didn't stop until I was under the bright lights of a gas station 5 miles away. I checked the app to report this safety issue, but the order was already marked as delivered. There was even a tip. $1. The message attached to the tip just said, next time, follow the instructions. Needless to say, I'm staying out of that neighborhood. The hustle is real, but my life is worth more than a McDouble and a creepy encounter in 14B. Stay safe out there, friends. And remember, if the neighbor says no, you gotta go. The ghost kitchen in the industrial park. You know how it is. When you're on the hustle, you don't ask too many questions about where the money is coming from as long as the pings keep hitting your phone. I usually stick to the downtown core, high turnover, easy parking, but last Tuesday the city was dead. I was sitting in a dark parking lot, staring at my battery percentage, when a notification popped up that made my eyes pop. $35 for a 3-mile trip. No way. I swiped, accept, so fast I almost cracked my screen. The pickup was for a place called Artisan Meats and Savories. I've lived in this city my whole life and I'd never heard of it. I figured it was one of those ghost kitchens. You know, those places that don't have a storefront and just run out of the back of a warehouse to save on rent. The GPS started leading me away from the bright lights and deep into the Southside Industrial District. If you've never been there at 1 a.m., count your blessings. It's a graveyard of rusted shipping containers, cracked asphalt, and streetlights that have been shot out for sport. My car's headlights were the only thing cutting through the gloom as I pulled up to a massive, windowless corrugated steel building at the end of a dead-end road. There was no sign. No Artisan Meats logo. Just a single heavy metal door with a small red light glowing above it. I hopped out, feeling the cold dampness of the river air hit my face. I walked up to the door and pressed the buzzer. It was silent for a long time, long enough for me to start thinking about just canceling and getting the hell out of there. But then I heard a heavy bolt slide back. The door creaked open just a few inches. A guy stepped out, and man, this dude did not fit the artisan vibe. He was built like a fridge, wearing a heavy yellow plastic apron that was slick with something dark and viscous. He didn't say a word. He just handed me a grease-stained brown paper bag that was surprisingly heavy. It didn't smell like pizza or burgers. It smelled metallic, like a penny under your tongue. "Enjoy," he rasped, his voice sounding like two bricks rubbing together. Before I could even say, "Have a good one," the door slammed shut and the bolt slid back home. I got back in my car, feeling a knot form in my stomach. The delivery address was only a mile away to a hand-it-to-me customer named B. The drive took me to a small, overgrown house tucked behind a scrapyard. The porch light was off, but I could see someone standing behind the screen door. I walked up the creaky wooden steps, held out the bag and said the usual, "Uber Eats for B?" The person stepped out. It was a guy in his late 20s, looking totally disheveled, like he hadn't slept in a week. He grabbed the bag, but instead of going inside, he ripped it open right there in front of me. "Finally," he whispered. He reached into the bag and pulled out a smaller, white cardboard box. He flipped the lid. I leaned in, thinking I'd see some high-end charcuterie or something. But what I saw made my blood run cold. It wasn't food. Inside that box, resting on a bed of blood-soaked butcher paper, were personal items. A set of car keys, a broken pair of glasses, and right in the middle was a thick silver class ring. The customer started shaking. Not from fear, but from a weird, jagged kind of excitement. He picked up the ring and kissed it. Then he looked at me, his eyes wide and bloodshot. "Tell the chef, the seasoning is perfect this time," he said. I didn't wait for a tip. I didn't even mark the order as delivered until I was 10 blocks away. I spent the rest of the night scrubbing the smell of that metallic grease off my hands, but no matter how much soap I used, it wouldn't go away. I looked up Artisan Meats and Savories the next morning. The business license had been revoked 5 years ago after a health code violation that made the local news, something about the owner sourcing his meat from unconventional places. I don't go to the south side anymore, Handale. The hustle is real, but some kitchens are cooking things that shouldn't be on the menu. Stay safe, and if the pay looks too good to be true, it probably is. The wrong address trap. I usually listen to compilations while I'm pulling the graveyard shift on the apps, but after what happened last Tuesday, I've had to take a little break from the hustle. My nerves are absolutely shot. I'm a 24-year-old dude, pretty big guy, go to the gym 5 days a week. I don't usually scare easy. But this was a whole different level of effed up. I was working a dinner rush in the Heights. It's one of those nicer, cookie-cutter suburban neighborhoods where every house has a manicured lawn and a Ring camera. It's usually my favorite place to dash because the tips are solid and I don't have to worry about getting jumped. Or so I thought. I had a high-end order from a local steakhouse. 2 ribeyes, loaded baked potatoes, the works. Total treat-yourself meal. The instructions were leave at door, but as I pulled up to the house, a guy was already standing on the porch. He looked totally normal, you know? Mid-30s, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He waved at me with this big, friendly smile as I hopped out of the car with the thermal bag. "Hey, perfect timing," he called out. "I've been starving all day. I saw you were 2 minutes away on the app and couldn't wait." I didn't think twice. It happens all the time. People get hungry, they see the GPS, and they meet you outside. I handed him the bag, he thanked me, and he even did that awkward, "have a good one bro" nod. I walked back to my car, toggled the order as handed to customer, and started looking for my next ping. I was just about to shift into drive when my phone buzzed. It was a message through the Uber app. "Customer, hey, I'm standing on my porch. Where are you? The app says you're here." My heart did a slow, heavy thud against my ribs. I looked at the house I just came from. The guy was gone. The front door was closed. I looked at the house across the street. There was a guy standing on that porch, looking around confused, holding his phone. I messaged back, "I'm in the white Civic. I just handed the food to a guy on the porch at 164 Oak Street. Is that you?" The reply came back instantly, no. I'm at 162 Oak Street. Across the street. 164 is my neighbor's house, but they're on vacation in Mexico. The house should be empty. A cold sweat broke out across my forehead. I looked back at 164. All the lights were off. Not a single lamp, no TV glow, nothing. It was a dark, silent shell of a house. I should have just stayed in the car and called the cops, but I felt responsible, you know? Like I just handed a predator a ticket into someone's home. I grabbed my heavy mag light from the glove box and walked back up the driveway of 164. I got to the front door and tried the handle. Locked. I knocked and my voice sounded way higher than usual. Hey, sir? I think there was a mix-up with the order. Silence. Then I heard it, from deep inside the dark house. A muffled, high-pitched scream. It was followed by a heavy thud like a piece of furniture being knocked over. I didn't think. I ran around to the side of the house, shining my light through the windows. When I hit the kitchen window, I saw him. The friendly guy in the gray hoodie. He wasn't eating the steak. He was standing in the middle of the kitchen, holding a roll of heavy-duty zip ties, looking down at something on the floor that I couldn't see. He turned and looked right at me. The friendly smile was gone. His face was totally blank like a mask. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He just slowly raised one finger to his lips, telling me to be quiet, and then he reached over and pulled the kitchen blind shut. I turned and sprinted. I yelled for the actual customer to get inside and lock his doors. I dialed 911 while I was peeling out of that neighborhood, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. The cops arrived 10 minutes later, but the guy was long gone. They found the back sliding door had been jimmied open. The neighbor wasn't in Mexico. The guy had lied to me about that too. The actual homeowners were tied up in the basement. They'd been there for hours. The guy had been waiting for a delivery, any delivery, to act as a cover so if a neighbor saw him on the porch, he'd just look like a hungry guy getting dinner instead of a home intruder. I don't deliver to the Heights anymore. Every time I see a guy waving at me from a porch, I wonder if he's waiting for his food, or if he's just waiting for a witness to hand him an alibi. Stay safe out there, don't trust the smile.